is such an important section, and it marries quite nicely with wellness. It's a very logical fit. But where within the world of health are all the trends swarming around? Which ones are the ones that we're seeing are really deeply connected and engaging to the consumer? So one key overarching theme we're seeing here is that not only are we living longer, right, because of medical advances, etc., so we're dying slower, living longer, but the narrative is not about slowing down aging or anti-aging, right? So back in the day, we wanted to look more youthful. We wanted to live long but look youthful, right? We're actually moving on to something around healthy aging. So things like health span rather than lifespan. So what we're seeing, that means is that people would rather live to 90 healthier than to live to 120 unhealthy. So there's a complete shift in how we view health and life. So this is overarching in everything we're seeing. And so we're finding that trends that we've been looking at, we've been testing things around general health, sleep, mind health, health supplements, biology, and some specific themes were like microbiome, sleep apnea, meditation, loneliness, FOMO, JOMO, science of aging. All of those trends and narratives are top of mind to the consumer now.
Yes, it's not about lifespan, it's really about health span and how to bring more life into years and not just years into life. Absolutely. How is that? Do you see it more steered by business, apps, technology, and the chatter around that, or more about the healthy tips that people can implement to have better sleep, better nutrition, being more active more often, being more mindful, and having a bigger sense of purpose, which are basically the 5 pillars of wellness of the World Wellness Weekend?
Well, we're seeing a variety of things. Each narrative has their own stage of evolution, as I call it. Some narratives, they start off as, we are interested, we want more information. So generally the roles that businesses play is providing information, how to, for example, diet and nutrition, gut health, you know, how can I improve my microbiome? There's a lot of what is it, understanding it. So that's the purpose where, you know, you play to the market based on what they need at the time. Then you move on to the narratives where people understand it intrinsically, and now there's a lot of commentary and opinions around that. And so the general voices around that is sort of shaping sort of not just what is it, but it's like, how can I live it? How can I bring it into my life? And that's where you can be a voice of authority. If you are a brand or an industry player, you need to know what stage of evolution those narratives are at. And in addition, we always measure the emotional tone and the drivers behind them, because certain things like sleep apnea, we saw the data says that it's got a lot of negativity, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, of course. Now, when I see that, it's a good sign. The more intense that negative emotion is, the more pain the market is feeling. So what does the market want? Relieve my pain. So if you are an industry that can service that pain, you've got a connection to the market. So it's really, really interesting. Like we're seeing all narratives are very, very different. And so when we report on what we're seeing, we're also giving you color as to where the stage of that narrative is at.
Absolutely, because one thing that I find fascinating in your work is that it's not just the repetition or the occurrence of how many times a word or a concept arises and arises. This is just, you know, lexical. What you are focusing on is the emotions behind the words. What is driving people to react, to say, I love it, I hate it, I have a strong opinion about it. And we know for a fact that more and more political leaders, even presidents, but no names today, have used that, even sharing blatant misinformation, half-truths, half-lies, to have people react. And before you know it, after a few days or a few weeks, the half-lie or the half-truth that made people react is no longer the point. The point is, how do we deal with the anger with the people and the people in the street? So about health, what is making really people passionate? Is it the fear of death and seeing that people are dying because of COVID? And maybe that's, although it's dramatic, it could be also the tree hiding the forest behind chronic diseases with cancer, with diabetes type 2, with strokes, heart disease, pulmonary diseases. So this is big. Is it the fear of dying? Is it the desire to live with appetite?
We didn't specifically test fear of dying, but I could probably say that most of us fear dying. And if you were to look at the emotions around that, it would be very negative or strong to intense negative. Like we don't want to die in early life. But what I'm here to, when we're looking at this from the health perspective, it's around living a healthy life. It's not about length of life. And so when we're looking at health, we actually saw lots of interconnectivity with the food and nutrition segment, because everything's interrelated, right? It's not in silos. You know, health is related to wellness, health is related to food and nutrition. All those are related to tourism and travel as well. Like everything is interrelated. So one thing we saw within health was that people are concerned about the science of nutrition, the science of particularly gut health. Gut health is key. We saw that very, very strong in the food and nutrition sector. So when you're talking about fear of dying, I don't specifically, we didn't look at that, but we're looking at ways to live a healthier, more fulfilling life. And it's not just physical health. We're seeing emotional health, spiritual health, and mental health come through. So these are great opportunities for, for businesses to think outside what they normally do, right? So imagine like you might do supplements, right? In some sort of medical ailment or whatever. If you knew what the market felt about the causes or medical conditions that you help solve, if you knew how to communicate to them and link other things that are relevant in their lives, like food and nutrition or whatever, and collaborate with other notable, trusted brands, right? This is the new world we're creating. You're not just alone in your health sector. You can work very nicely with tourism and food and nutrition and beauty. It's all interrelated.
Absolutely. And as you were discussing before we move to beauty, what is interesting is that the trends that you see that are making people act is also making not just comment on forums, websites, but actually buy and purchase services, products that help them. You did mention sleep apnea, which is absolutely huge. It's about 1 billion people worldwide, according to the Lancet in 2019, who were suffering from obstructive sleep apnea. 30% of the global population is affected with insomnia, according to the Sleep Foundation in 2020. And 62% of adults worldwide feel that they don't sleep well, according to the World Economic Forum. When this translates into buying behaviors or patterns, we see the market growing, or the prediction of the market growing by 6.3% each year between 2020 and 2024, with an average market of $67 billion. And that's not just pillows and mattresses, but also sleeping products and supplements. And if you did mention and touch on nutrition, which is so close, and the microbiome and the mind, the brain, gut connection, that market alone is $278 billion estimated worldwide in 2024, with a 10% average growth rate between 2016 and 2024. I could go on with more statistics about vitality, serenity, mindfulness, about the apps. I mean, the yoga market side is $88 billion and growing at almost a 12% rate. This is big information that you are sharing for people and business owners, managers, directors, GMs, to make actions and to invest, like I said in the introduction, their time, their energy, and their money on what really matters.
Oh, when you're saying all that, I see so many opportunities for brands to play in this space. Like if we just take sleep apnea, for example, given the statistics of how bad we sleep, which is a problem, right? You can easily come up with connections on messaging, that solves that pain point, and services and product packaging that that brings it all together, solve that problem, right? So this is where you can take your business and think creatively, think outside your box. Reimagine means taking narratives from other areas that matter to your audience. The consumer, right, wants all of these things solved. And I think travel and tourism are in the best position to pull it all together, because they're a destination. When you package something, you bring the food part, you bring the health part, you bring the beauty part, you guarantee the best night's sleep that you've ever had in the last year. Stuff like that, that triggers the emotional drivers that we've picked up as pain points. You speak to them and you've got a market, and you engage with them this year when everything's quiet. Things are quiet because everyone's waiting to see what's happening. I think this is the best time to start getting louder and louder, because you know what? You have share of voice, you have share of eyeballs, right? Everyone
Which
is
is really
waiting to be solved. So be ready for this tidal wave. This is very exciting times.